everybody. Welcome to the Slapping Academy. Today, we are going to be teaching you how to do the best slap to make sure that you get the entire surface area of the person who you're trying to slap. We have taught many players through this academy, and many of our constituents have come on to be amazing players. Just look at some of our examples, like Adrian Peterson, Ray Rice, Will Smith, Jawan Howard, and Aaron Hernandez. There are a couple of these players that you may know very well. So you remember, with this slap, this is going to be your person right here, okay, everybody? You see this person? So I'm going to put this right up close to the camera and right up close to the mic so that you can hear the entire surface area of the slap. And then you go. Remember, it's all about the wind up. You got to wind it up and then you slap, okay? So we're going to do this first in slow motion. Wind, slap, okay? You got it? So this is what you do whenever makes a joke that you do not. Now we are not condoning this sort of work. And please do not take our stuff outside of this video. But 3, 2, 1. There we go. That is the perfect slap right there. You heard the right pop. You heard the everything. I hope you have learned a lot from this Slapping Academy video. And please make sure to tune in next week because we are now going to be doing this in weekly episodes. Just kidding, Frontline Football. We know you're here for the NFL, and we know that we should get to you very fast and quickly. But right before, let's talk on a serious note. There's been so much stuff that has happened in these past couple of weeks. We don't know what the heck to do. Everything's catching on fire. People are slapping each other. I don't even know what the heck's happening anymore. First, we have Jawan Howard slapping a coach. Then we have Will Smith and Chris Rock over a joke. Not okay by Chris Rock, but it is still not okay to slap anybody because that is assault. And then also Broncos Stadium burn. We have the Raptors Stadium burn, but we will not be talking about that this video. We're going to be ranking teams for next year. So, without further ado,
Guys, well, guys, for Frontline Football, I'm Zach. We're gonna do a tier list. You haven't seen this for our YouTube channel yet, but this is gonna be our first. We're gonna start off with the Tennessee Titans. Josh, where do you rank them?
okay, so my ranking for them will be fringe contenders. I think because they're in the South, they are going in the first round again. So I have them as fringe contenders. I'm gonna hand this one off to Jack.
All right, for the Tennessee Titans, my ranking for them is going to be also the fringe contenders / playoff box. What are your thoughts, Zach?
Same here. I think that they're French contenders. They'll have a first round exit, and that makes it pretty easy on us. First up, our next team is the Miami Dolphins. What about you, Jack? Where do you think they would rank?
They're a confusing team, but with their acquisitions, I think I'd move them up into the playoff tier, probably. But I don't think they're going to be able to make a deep run. What about you, Josh?
I have them in the French contenders list with all my playoff teams. I feel like with this new roster, they're going to do really well, especially with their new coach, McDaniels. I think they're going to finally get over home. But I don't think that they'll be able to pull it off. Mike McDaniels is still a little bit too inexperienced. So I'm having them French contenders. Zach?
I think that they're actually contenders, but the Frontline Football listing you'll see as fringe contenders or whatever Jack has put for that area. But I believe that these guys are contenders. All right, next is Jack's favorite team, the New York Jets. Jack, what do you think?
I think I'm going to put them in mid. I don't know what that is for you guys. That's going to be the fourth yellow tier. They've made a lot of good acquisitions, but at the same time, a lot of other teams got better. So I'll leave them in mid for the time being. What about you, Zach?
I'm sorry, Jack, but I'm going to have to put them in below average. The Jets they got a lot of good acquisitions, but still. Josh?
Well, I also unfortunately have to put them below average. It's a high below average, but it is still below average because I think that they still need a couple more pieces before I can put them in competitive.
All right, our next team, I'll finally take over one of them, and it is the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to put them all the way up into contenders. They have a really good squad. Jack?
I'll also put them in contender/deep playoffs. They have a good squad, and now they have a quarterback to run that good squad. What are your thoughts, Josh?
Well, I also put them in contenders because of that new acquisition of Deshaun. Help their offense mesh together. I think they're going to have a little bit of problems at the start, but I think by the end they're going to show whether.
All right, our next team is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Josh, you want to take this one over?
Jacksonville Jaguars. I put them as my lowest below average team. I didn't put number one pick, but they are pretty close to that area there. But they are my below average teams.
Okay, I guess I'll go next. I have them in number one pick. They've had it for the past 2 years. How about they have it for a third? Jack?
I'm going to put them in below average. Their acquisitions make them better, but similar to the Jets, a lot of other people got better too.
All right, our next team is the Detroit Lions. I'm going to hand this one off to Jack.
I'm going to actually put them in mid, surprisingly enough. I think they're going to be better than I thought they would be. They made some solid acquisitions, and they have an established coaching staff, so that's good. They're going in mid. What about you, Josh?
Team is this? I'm sorry.
Lions.
Lions.
Lions. I have them in competitive. Also, I think that Dan Campbell together and show why he was hired in the first place, especially being on so
All right, I also have them in competitive. They're going to be a very competitive team, probably get to a record of 500. That's really it. Our next team is Jack's second favorite team in the AFC, the Minnesota Vikings. Jack, how about you take this one over?
I'm going to put the Vikings in the playoff/fringe contender tier here. They made some acquisitions that I like, so I'll put them there for now. What about you, Josh?
Well, with the Vikings, I have them in the competitive tier. I still can't see them as contenders or even for the playoffs. Even if they made all these new moves, I still think that they will struggle, especially with Aaron Rodgers and still in their division. Now, they won't be, but
all right. I have them in fringe contenders. They're gonna probably make the playoffs because of especially weak NFC North. Just having Aaron Rodgers to deal with is not too hard. They'll be a fringe contenders, but a first round exit. That's what it means. All right, our next team is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Josh.
okay, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I have them in elite. Even though they lost a lot of pieces, they are still technically a team with Brady at the helm. So put them.
Oh, who'd you just transition to?
Jack.
I'm going to put them in elite as well, / in it to win it, mainly because Brady came back and they had a bunch of solid acquisitions to keep the team together. What about you, Zach?
I also have them in elite. They have a really good team, and I think that they're gonna try to make a Super Bowl. Our next team is the San Francisco 49ers. I might be the only one putting them here, but I have them in elite tier. They're a really solid team. They're really well run. They probably will choke the Super Bowl, though. What about you, Josh?
The 49ers, I have them in the elite tier because of how well that they've done and with them keeping most the same roster that they did last year.
I will also put them in elite tier, mainly because they already had a deep playoff run. I think if they improve the playoff teams, or if they improve the quarterback play, they can go to Super Bowl.
All right, our next team is the Atlanta Falcons. Josh, you want to take this one over?
Atlanta Falcons, they are my team with the first pick. I have not seen enough from them this offseason. I have basically seen nothing from them, so I'm putting them at the number one pick spot. Zach?
I also have them number one pick. They're really unimpressive, so yeah. Jack.
I'll put them in number one overall pick as well. They really didn't do anything at all. They were going to be really bad.
Our next team is the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going to hand this one off to Jack.
This may be kind of hot take, but I'll put them in deep playoffs. I think they have the capability as a healthy team to potentially make a deep playoff run, but we'll see. In the low end of deep playoffs. What about you, Josh?
Well, I have them as fringe contenders. I still don't think that they built a good enough roster around Lamar to get him past the first round. So I'm putting them in fringe contenders.
They didn't make the playoffs last year. They didn't look impressive in the playoffs. I'm having them as a fringe contender. Also, the AFC is very difficult now. The next team is the Washington Football Team. Commanders now. I'm sorry. Josh, you want to take this one over?
Yeah, sure. I have them as competitive. I see them competing in the NFC East, but I don't see them winning it, but being a very competitive team throughout.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Okay, I'll put them in... I'll probably put them in competitive / mid as well. They kind of improved their team, but they still kind of feel pretty average in perspective, though they could potentially make the playoffs because the NFC is kind of weak. What about you, Zach?
Below average. They didn't show too much. I understand that defense was really messed up, but I still have them as a below average team with the Jets. All right, our next team is the Chicago Bears. I'll actually take this one. I have the Chicago Bears actually in below average. They didn't do too much over the offseason, and they're probably not going to do too much in the draft, but I still like being a below average team for them. What about you, Jack?
I also have them in below average, mainly because they didn't do much this offseason to help Justin Fields, and they don't have a first-round pick, which doesn't help when you need to improve your team. What about you, Josh?
Okay, so let's see. We are on the
Bears.
Panthers, right?
Bears.
Bears. I'm going to put them also in below average because I haven't seen enough from them. I've seen a couple, but I haven't seen enough from them to put them in.
Okay. Our next team is the Cincinnati Bengals. Josh, where are you placing them?
Well, they're obviously elite. There's no question about it. They've only gotten better, and I like what they're doing. So they are an elite team. Zach?
I have them in contenders. I think that Super Bowl run was very good, but this AFC is very much competitive, and they're one of the big competitive teams, and I think that they're just on contenders. Jack, what about you?
I'll also put them in elite, mainly because they fixed their O-line, and that was mainly their issue, so they're going to be really good next year.
All right, our next team is the Dallas Cowboys. Jack, you want to take this?
I'm going to put them in the fringe contender / playoff tier, but I don't expect much from them. I expect them to regress. Maybe they'll get a wild card if they're lucky. What about you, Zach?
I also have them in fringe contenders. They're not too impressive, especially losing their wide receiver core, which was one of the nicer things about them. So, yeah, fringe contenders. Josh?
We're talking about the Chiefs.
Right? Oh, we're talking about the Cowboys.
Cowboys, got it. I also have them as fringe contenders. I think that they'll be good enough to get the playoffs, but not good enough to get any further than the first round like they did last year. So, fringe contenders.
All right, our next team is the Houston Texans. Josh?
I have them as below average. I have them as a high below average, but still below average. So that is my take. Jack?
I'm also going to have to put them in below average. A higher below average because I believe in some of the stuff there, but overall still below average. What about you, Zach?
I also have them below average, but worse than the Jets. And they're going to be pretty solid. Our next team is the Indianapolis Colts. Josh?
Saying that they are competitive, but they are barely missing out on the playoffs this year like they did last year. I don't know what it needs to get them over the hump, but it's not going to be this season, so competitive. Zach?
I have them as fringe contenders. They have a pretty solid team, especially having a solid quarterback in Matty Ice. So, yeah. Jack?
I'm going to put them in mid. I like their team, but I think the AFC is too good for them to be sneaking into the playoffs this year.
All right, our next team is the LA Rams. I'll be taking this one. I say that they are elite. They just, actually, I'll have it as contenders. I'm sorry about that. I tricked a lot of you guys. They lost a lot of good pieces this offseason, like Von Miller, and I think that that's going to really hinder them on getting to another Super Bowl. What about you, Jack?
I'm going to also put the LA Rams in the tier right below elite. They did lose a couple key pieces that got them to the Super Bowl, but I do still think they're going to make at least a deep playoff run. Josh?
I am saying that the Rams are also contenders. I feel like they're going to be a deep playoff run, but they're not going to the Super Bowl again because they lost a lot of pieces.
All right, our next team is the LA Chargers. Jack.
I'm going to put them in deep playoff run. Well, I think they definitely have a Super Bowl level roster. Not seeing them in the playoffs yet is a little concerning, but as of right now, I'm confident they can at least make a deep playoff run. What about you, Josh?
I would call them fringe contenders because I haven't seen Brandon Staley in the playoffs, and I feel like he's going to be doing a little bit too much analytic ball with the team, and they are going to...
All right. I have them in contenders. They have a really solid team. Even if Brandon Staley acts like an idiot, they still have a really talented team, and he'll just get better and better over time. Next team is the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going to hand this one off to Josh.
I'm calling the Las Vegas Raiders contenders. They got the pieces that they need. They got the receivers back. Maybe not their corners yet, but that will come in the draft. And I think that they are contenders this year, and I'm saying it right now. Jack, what is your take?
I'm going to have to put them in fringe contenders / playoffs, but I will put them in the high end of the list. I'm not 100% sold on their ability to make a deep playoff run, but I do think they will be there. What about you, Zach?
I have the Raiders in fringe contender also, but they are a very high fringe contender because they have a lot of talent on that team. The only person I don't trust that team is their head coach. Our next team is the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll take this one. I believe the Chiefs are going to be fringe contenders. They lost a lot of decent pieces and a lot of really solid pieces like Tyreek Hill. I think that they're going to be trying to edge their way out of that really hard division that they're in with now the Broncos, Raiders, and Chargers. What about you, Jack?
I'm going to also have to put the Chiefs in fringe contender, mainly because they got worse, AFC got better. What about you, Josh?
I would have to say that I'm going to put them in contenders only because of Andy Reid's playoff experience, so I think that they'll make it past the first round of the playoffs and make some sort of divisional round or even conference championship playoff run.
All right, our next team is the New Orleans Saints. What do you think about this, Josh?
I am going to have to call the New Orleans Saints competitive. I think with Jameis Winston on the roster, if he stays healthy, they'll be competitive. But I don't think that they will make the playoffs again this year. I'm going to hand this one off to Zach for his...
New Orleans Saints, I believe that they're going to be competitive this year. They have a really solid team, and I think that they're going to shock a lot of people with some of the wins that they're going to get. What about you, Jack?
I'm going to put them in the high end of competitive / mid right now. I am not 100% sure they can make the playoffs, but I do expect them to be at least close.
All right, our next team is the New York Giants. What do you think about this team, Jack?
I'm going to have to put them in the number 1 pick category with the Falcons. I'm not really sold on anything they did this offseason. They didn't do much, and they were pretty bad beforehand, so I'll put them down there. What about you, Josh?
I'm not going to put them in number 1 pick because I only put one team in number 1 pick. There's only one number 1 pick. So I'm going to say that the Giants are a low below average because the only big thing they did this offseason is Brian Dable, and they may be trading away James Bradley. Zach?
Also have them at number 1 pick. This team is not good, and they're going to keep getting worse before they get better. All right, our next team is the Philadelphia Eagles, and I'll be taking this one. I believe the Eagles are going to be competitive. They are not going to make the playoffs because, well, the NFC is not that bad of a division like people are saying because all the AFC has that talent. I don't believe the Eagles will make the playoffs, and that's just my take. What about you, Jack?
I think it's close, but I'm going to put them in the very low end of the playoffs. I think with the 3 first-round picks, they'll be able to significantly improve this roster. What about you, Josh?
I'm going to have to call them a fringe contender because I think that they will make the playoffs, but they will not make it past the first round. But they will be very competitive this season and make the playoffs.
All right, our next team is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Josh, you want to take this one?
I'm going to make this quick and easy. Below average. The only thing on their team that's actually working is Benson Najee. I don't see them doing anything else, so below average for...
All right. Next.
Zach?
All right, cool. I have the Steelers being competitive. They actually have not that bad of a team, especially Mitch Trubisky going to be probably hopefully good. I think that they're going to be a highly competitive team, getting people losses where they should not be getting losses. What about you, Jack?
I'm going to also put them in the competitive tier. While I don't believe they're going to make the playoffs or anything, I do believe they can be a competitive team with the current roster they have intact.
All right, our next team is the Denver Broncos. What do you think about this team, Jack?
Ooh, this is going to be close, but I'm going to put them in the low end of deep playoffs right now. It's kind of just going to depend on how Rush meshes with the team, but we'll see. As of right now, low end of deep playoffs. What about you, Zach?
Also have them in contenders. There's not a lot of good pieces that they can run off of, except for they just got Russell Wilson. But other than that, they haven't really worked on their really needs. So I hope that they can do well, but still, I can't believe in Russ all the way. What about you, Josh?
Spurs contenders because I feel like they are going to have a lot of chemistry problems throughout the year, especially with Russell Wilson and Cincy. I feel like they're going to make playoffs, but they're going to be out.
All right, our next team is the Green Bay Packers. What do you think about this, Josh?
I feel like they are also fringe contenders because even though they doesn't have a team around him, he's still got to pull some magic out and make something good out of nothing. And I think that they will be fringe contenders and beyond the Packers dynasty ends. Jack?
I'm also going to put them in the fringe contender / playoff tier. Well, they never really make deep playoff runs, so I can't really be sold on them going there. So for now, I'll just put them in the fringe contenders tier. What about you, Zach?
I have them in competitive. I don't think the Packers will be that good, especially having no wide receivers other than Randall Cobb on their team. That's not impressive, and that doesn't make you a fringe contender. That makes you into a loser. All right. The Carolina Panthers. Josh, you want to take this one?
Panthers, I have them below average. They didn't get the Watson sweepstakes, and they haven't really done much with their roster. So I have them at below average. Zach?
Also have them at below average. They still have pieces like Brian Burns, CMC, and DJ Moore that are very, very highly talented, and they're going to keep their team in this below average, not first pick. What about you, Jack?
I have them in the low end of competitive right now. I think they do have some pieces, and we'll see what they do with the 6th overall pick, but overall, I don't expect them to make the playoffs.
All right, it's my team next, and it's the Arizona Cardinals. I am going to say that they're going to be competitive, or not competitive, contenders next year. They had a little bit of stumble in the playoffs this year, but that was Kyler and Cliff's first year. I think that the Cardinals can make a really nice, deep playoff run. What about you, Jack?
I'm going to also put them in the deep playoff run as of right now, mainly because some key injuries down the stretch kind of hurt them. I could definitely see them making a deep run if everything falls right. What about you, Josh?
I say French contenders this year. While the NFC will be a cakewalk, I think that the Cardinals could make a deep playoff run, but be safe and say first round.
All right, the next team is the Buffalo Bills. What do you think about this team, Jack?
I'm going to put them in elite / in it to win it. Their team is pretty much constructed to win a Super Bowl. We'll see if they can pull that off. What about you, Josh?
Elite. This is an all-in year, and I don't see anything else from it. Zach?
I also have them in elite. This team is like one of the best teams in football right now, and they just keep getting better with Von Miller and all of them. So elite. All right, our next team is the New England Patriots. What do you think about this team, Jack?
For now, I am going to put them in mid. I think Bill Belichick can win them some games that they're not supposed to win, but ultimately, the AFC is just too good for them to sneak into the playoffs this year. What about you, Zach?
I also have them in competitive. This team is going to probably get a 500 record, but this AFC is way too good for them to actually get anything else done, so I have them in competitive. What about you, Josh?
I say that they're also competitive this year. I don't see them making the playoffs because of how much better the AFC has gotten and how much free agency stuff that they have done, which is not a lot. So I think that they will be competitive this year, and they will hang on until probably about week 17.
All right, and our final team of this video is the Seattle Seahawks. I'll be taking this one. I believe that they are a below-average team. They have a lot of talent like DK Metcalf, Jamal Adams, and Tyler Lockett. Those guys will have them win a couple games that will get them out of the first pick range. So I believe that they're going to be a very below-average team, worse than the Jets, Texans, and football team. What about you, Jack?
I'm also going to have to put them in below average. While they do have some pieces, I don't think it's enough. in the coaching department or quarterback department to get them up into the competitive tier. What about you, Josh?
I am saying for the final team in the video, below average, because I think that they are actually encroaching on first pick range, because I think they're going to be trading away a lot of their big pieces for draft capital.
Alright, I'm sorry how fast we went on this video. We just didn't want to get into very in-depth takes about these teams. Hope you enjoyed it. If you like this content, hit the like button. Put in the comments below what you want us to do next. We could do a running back tier list. We could do, who knows, we could actually do an NBA tier list and see how well our NBA knowledge is. Anything that you want, tier list, mock drafts, we can do it, anything. Jack, last thing, hit the plugs.
As always, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at FrontlineFB. We'll keep you updated in the free agency market because there's still a lot of interesting players left. See you guys back here next week.